college football national championship, couple of Super Bowls, one of the great coaches of my life, Fox Sports NFL analyst, the Hall of Famer too, Jimmy Johnson. We get him about once a month, and we always savor these. So, it's funny. We said last week that this league's hard. Hell, even when you had Aikman, it's hard. You show up on the road, the weather's crappy, you got right tackles hurt. But it was funny. I said, the Chiefs were ugly, but they were beating Washington, Philadelphia, the Giants. I mean, even in your career, my thing is there's value in just getting out of town and getting a win. And then I felt last night, I'm like, okay, now this is the team. Jimmy, talk about, Andy Reid well, talk about the course of a season and like even with your great Cowboy teams, you get into these 3 and 4 week stretches where it's just not right.
Well, first of all, Colin, the last couple of years with the Cowboy teams, it was right every week. I mean, we really didn't have that many problems. But as far as the Chiefs, a lot of their problems, came early in that everybody was playing a shell, too deep coverage, and Mahomes wanted to take the ball to the top and get the big explosive plays and wasn't really satisfied with the underneath routes and running the football. And what ended up happening is they had a tremendous amount of turnovers, and a lot of those turnovers were on tip balls.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times with turnovers, if you're not normally a turnover team, it'll even out over the year. And I think as long as they protect the football, they're going to be able to outscore most of the teams that they play. And they've got to be somewhat patient. They can't go for the explosive play down after down.
Yeah, I noticed last night, Jimmy, a lot of throws to the running backs, a lot of throws to the tight ends. It was almost as if they said, guys, we're getting too cute. Let's just – That's what it felt like to me. What did it feel like to you?
Yeah, that's kind of what I used to tell Michael Irvin on the one-handed catches. I said, don't be pretty, be good. And so I said, hey, if you can reach it with one hand, you can reach it with two hands. Be good. Don't be pretty.
Right.
But they started off the game last night, and Kelsey was the number one receiver, all underneath routes, and the Raiders couldn't cover Kelsey. Then they go to the running backs. And so they were able to take a lot of the underneath routes. And, that opened up the whole offense for them.
I said when Mac Jones came out, Joy and I said, he's getting the best place to go. Great coach, great coordinator, good. We knew that. I didn't see him as a dynamic kind of athlete off script, but this was going to be, I thought he would look the best early. But I got to tell you, made some throws yesterday, Jimmy. Since the second half of the Houston game, he really, his feet are, he looks calm. Are you surprised at all by how good he is this early?
Yeah, you knew the team was going to get better. And, you knew that the defense was going to be solid. Bill brought in some defensive guys that really helped them. And so they've got a solid defense. So he's going to get plenty of opportunities with the defense stopping the opponent. But he did make some outstanding throws. The throw across the middle, he threaded it right between two defenders. That's a great throw right there.
Yeah.
And for the touchdown. He had a nice touch, throwing the ball not only on the middle, but over here on the corner route. That's a nice touch. That's not an easy pass to complete. But he did it in college. He's doing it for Belichick. And I think the other thing, too, is as this year has gone on, he's calmed down a little bit. He's playing with a lot more confidence. He understands what Belichick wants from him. Just protect the football, don't turn it over, and to make those throws. And the other thing, too, he's getting outstanding protection because he's getting rid of the football so quick.
Yeah.
Almost like when Brady was there, you didn't hit Brady because he got rid of the football. Well, that's what's happening with Mac Jones. And Josh McDaniels has done an outstanding job with this rookie quarterback.
I was saying this earlier. You can't ask your coaches to coach perfectly, and you can't ask your team to play perfectly. The one thing Dallas has is they've got some playmakers, and they're sprinkled around to different units. And I look at them, Jimmy, and it's the first time, it feels like the beginning of your Cowboys years where you're like, oh, they need a sack. They got a guy that can get one. Oh, they need a big play over the top. That's what I see through the television. This is an athletic team with playmakers. What do you see?
Yeah, they've got some great players. I think if you look at the starting lineup on offense and defense, they're as talented, if not more talented, than anybody in the league. Sometimes they get in trouble when they have some injuries, because the bottom half of the roster may not be as talented as some other teams. But as far as the star players, the playmakers, as you say, they've got some great players in the starting lineup on both sides of the ball. And they're not just good players. When I looked at players coming out in the draft, I wanted individuals that, I called them playmakers. It might be an offensive guard that always makes the key block.
Yeah.
It might be an undersized defensive end that's only 245 pounds, and everybody calls him a tweener, but he has the strip sacks, he has the touchdowns, he has the interceptions, he ends up being MVP, defensive MVP of the league, and a Hall of Famer. I wanted playmakers, guys that made play. I was looking at defensive backs one year, and they had one defensive back. Everybody said, hey, he is the top defensive back in the league. But, people didn't throw against him, and so he didn't have a whole lot of interceptions, didn't have a lot of pass breakups. Well, instead, I took Kevin Smith, who led, set a record for interceptions at Texas A&M. He also returned punts. He was a playmaker. Ended up being a great player for us with the Cowboys. I wanted guys that touched the football, that made things happen.
Yeah. I was a little surprised by kind of the apathy of the Buccaneers off a bye. And, like everybody in Tampa this year got paid. They got a ring. It does feel like they're just not, the urgency isn't there. That's what I see off a bye.
Well, I don't know about urgency. They had a bunch of injuries with their defensive backfield. And, they like to play man coverage. So that's a problem, playing man coverage when you have a bunch of hurt defensive backs. The other thing is, they didn't have, somebody to take the top off the defense as far as Antonio Brown. They didn't have Tom Brady's favorite receiver, Gronkowski. So you take away two of his best receivers, the leading receiver with Antonio Brown and with Gronk. You take those two away. The big surprise, Washington was able to set on all those underneath routes. They surprised me because they've been so poor defensively in the secondary that people have, they couldn't stop anybody on third down. Well, they changed that yesterday. They played well on third down against the Buccaneers. And so I think the big thing with Tampa right now is the injuries have caught up with them. Now, if they get some of those players back, I think they're still going to be a force in the playoffs.
Finally, OBJ to the Rams, Robert Woods out. OBJ's had about 3 practices. And I will say this about OBJ. Rams do a lot of 11 personnel. You can probably do some more things with OBJ, be a little creative with him. Do you think he has an impact with this offense?
Yeah, I think OBJ will be a contributor. I think mainly because of Sean McVay. He is such a good football coach at utilizing his talent. The problem was Robert Woods did so many things for him, blocking, crossing routes. He was the slot receiver. Well, OBJ's not the slot receiver. That doesn't mean that he can't play in the slot, but it's going to be something different for him. I don't know that McVay's going to use him there. He's an outside receiver. I think McVay will use him. I think he will have some big plays, but losing Robert Woods was more major than what people may think. It's not just a matter of OBJ replacing Robert Woods. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, by the way, you bring up a great point. Robert Woods was a great blocking receiver.
Oh, he did everything, the tough catches, the blocking, sweeps, on and on. I mean, Robert Woods was a great player for him, and losing him is going to hurt.
Jimmy, it's great seeing you go out and go fishing today. You're on your own now for the rest
All
of the
right,
day.
Colin, good talking with you.
All right, the Hall of Famer, Jimmy Johnson on a Monday. Let me tell you about... Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.